please welcome to the stage Adobe VP, Gen AI New Business Ventures, Hannah Elsakr.
Good morning. So I've had probably hundreds of conversations with Fortune 2000 leaders, indie filmmakers, award-winning talent, and directors. And a pattern emerges, and it's probably not what you expect. The leaders who are winning with AI are not the ones with the most GPUs, the most powerful models, or the most powerful tools. Rather, it's the leaders who elevate the importance of human judgment. I think Chris talked about that earlier. Taste and creative vision. So the pace of change is relentless. I think we've all experienced it. I call it the AI whirlwind we've been in. And we're still in the very early innings of this massive transformation. We're at the intersection of interesting new ideas at the center of creativity and marketing. So I want to warn you, this talk is not about chasing the new, shiny AI object. It is much more about being grounded in what is actually working in creative workflows to make creative intent better at scale. So I'm Hannah Elsakr, and I like to call myself an intrapreneur. Phil called himself an entrepreneur, but I call myself an intrapreneur. And at Adobe, I spend my time essentially looking for and launching new multi-$100-million businesses for Adobe. And I get to spend time with leaders like Chris and Phil and A-list talent, A-list directors, AI-forward directors. You're going to hear from Dave Clark in a little bit. And there's a clear and decisive moment, I think, in 2026, which is shifting from experimentation to real production. That shift requires more than just chips or incremental thinking. What that requires is a structural reimagination of how original content is brought to life. Okay, we are entering an era in which creativity, human creativity, will no longer be constrained by time. I'm not saying we're going to break the space-time continuum, but I am saying we can bend it with AI. We're accelerating the full creative journey from idea to final frame, and we're doing that by removing friction and scaling hero creative with the context that matters. And at the intersection of creativity, marketing, and AI, I am saying that time actually fades away as a barrier. Watershed moments in creativity and technology are not new. We have been here before. I am not saying we were around in the 1400s for Gutenberg, but let me just share 3 examples that really resonate with me. You may have other ones. The printing press. Before Gutenberg, knowledge was trapped behind monastery walls and castle walls. When he lowered the cost and the friction of sharing knowledge, what we saw was content and knowledge exploded. It ushered in the Renaissance, one of the greatest flowerings of human creativity. Second example, the camera. When it came on the scene in the 1800s, the reaction was full-on panic, summed up by the famous French painter saying, "Painting is completely dead." Of course, we know that not to be true. Photography actually liberated painting from the obligation to only represent the reality. A Cambrian explosion, new styles, new creative styles. We got Kahlo, we got Monet, we got Picasso, Impressionism, Cubism. You get the point. And my third example, of course, our beloved, thank you. Shout out for the Photoshop users. Today we use it as a verb. I photoshopped this. When we launched it in the 90s, we got some pretty upset calls from the creative community that we were destroying craft. Change is genuinely hard. And Adobe, in that moment and in this moment, took those legitimate concerns seriously. So what did we do? Our creative director brought in David Hockney. He was not world-renowned then, but he came in and did a creative jam, and he legitimized digital art as a high art form. So we've been here before. Okay, I am trained as a mathematician, so I do like a couple of equations. Bear with me. Human creativity has always been powerful. Raise that to the power of AI, and I think the possibilities expand exponentially. AI is not going to change what great storytelling is, and AI will not magically fix a bad creative concept. Right? We had bad creative before, we will have bad creative in the future. It is our job to shape the AI, not to have AI shape us. And that is where unlimited possibilities enter. There's a corollary idea that really surprises most people I talk to. So in a world where content is abundant, human taste becomes a differentiator, because deep calls unto deep, and we feel great creative work. When creation gets easier, discernment is our currency. AI can accelerate what we make. AI cannot decide if it's worth making. So Adobe sits at a rare intersection of creativity, productivity, production, marketing, and AI. 99% of the Fortune 100 trust us as their partner in their, what we call the content supply chain, right? Original content all the way to marketing and distribution. Companies like Coca-Cola, Walt Disney Imagineering, the Home Depot, Paramount, Gatorade, we see what's working, and we see where even the greatest teams get stuck. And we focus on making creativity work at an enterprise grade, both scale and security. For some, creativity is a side quest, and for Adobe, it is our mission. And that distinction matters more than ever right now. Films recognized in award seasons, maybe you've seen a few. Top Gun, Wicked, The Substance, Train Dreams, beautifully shot. 85% of Sundance films this year created in Adobe tools. Campaigns that move the markets. Decade after decade, Adobe has shown up for the people who make things. And the industry is asking really hard questions right now. How do you protect creative ownership? How do you keep storytelling human? These are questions we have been answering for 40 years. I know we said, or I said, we were unlimited in time and space, but here on the runway stage, we are definitely, I see the clock, limited in time. So let me just take you through 4 practical places where that unlimited possibility becomes a reality today. First, growth. Quality, on-brand content. This is directly related to engagement and growth. This is not a creative opinion, this is a business fact. And most of us who work in brands, franchises, we spent the last decade on the marketing stack, the MarTech stack. We put a DAM in place, we put a CDP in place, we put analytics, a journey optimizer. We hooked that all together, all the pipes, and then we realized we don't have enough content to fill the pipes. Now you compound that with more pain, volume, cost, time. You're being asked for 5x the content, and probably, if your CFO is like our CFO, you're on a flat budget. 2/3 of your creative time is kind of spent on drudgery, reformatting, resizing, pushing pixel. That's not high-order strategic thinking work. And then finally, the half-life of content is measured in hours. In Instagram now, content goes stale in something like 19 hours. In TikTok, it's measured in minutes of decay. YouTube, I think you still get about 10 days. So that's, feel good about that. But you're on a content treadmill, which means you just need more and more content. let me make it complete and more concrete. I call this the math problem. Yes, more math. Imagine you only have 8 SKUs that you're marketing. 15 channels, you gotta be in 30 languages, et cetera. You're at 500,000 assets, okay? That's conservative. Most brands have thousands of SKUs. So this number, the real number, is in the millions. And the question is, as leaders, how do you scale that with quality? Now that last one was just a static example. We know video, 9 times the amount of engagement than a static. TikTok wants 9 by 16. YouTube wants 16 by 9, right? Disney just launched verticals. Unfortunately, that bad crop you saw, it's kind of not an edge case. It's what we live in post and finishing. So why don't we remove that creative drudgery of rekeying frame by frame and let us have more time for creative vision. So our leadership encourages us to drink our own champagne. We feel that's better than dog food as a parallel. So we were our first customer, right? We were our customer zero. 16,000 assets, 30 languages, and we actually achieved 60% reduction in time to market. Now, the most interesting impact for us was kind of one we hadn't thought about, reduction in creative waste. Generally, the old way, we lock our Black Friday content 16 to 20 weeks in advance. Some of you in the room may be done with Black Friday 2026 already. And when we did that, we actually over-created things. We created every promo and every price point because we had no idea when we got close to the time what the price point would be. So by shrinking the time to market by 60%, we had more intentionality, we had more focus, and less creative waste. Okay, the second place, the equation of unlimited possibility becomes real. It actually is a redefinition of personalization. The old model, segments, right? Carve your audience up into buckets, push the content at them, call it personal. Again, the reality, most people were doing maximum 5 mega segments and calling that personalization. You couldn't really operate any other way. The new definition puts the customer at the center, not as a target, but as a protagonist of your brand's story. Fandom wants to co-create. They want to say something cool. They want to drive the narrative only with brands they really care and trust. And so authenticity, we know, breaks through the noise, and that's not a marketing challenge. That's actually an opportunity for us. 2 real-life examples. Gatorade's one of our partners, and we launched, it was last year, a premium-priced AI-designed personalized bottle. Gatorade's athletic leaders think this gear is really the badge of the athlete. Anybody has athletes in their family, got 2 swimmers, the sidelines, the pool, swim lanes, all Gatorade bottles. So with commercially safe AI, they wanted you to design, what do you see yourself in the brand? Do you see yourself as an astronaut running on the moon, bunny dunking on the rim? All good. It comes back, as you saw, respecting the bolt and respecting the design parameters that the designers had set up from an intent perspective. So successful, new product lines coming out this year. Second example, because Phil's here, shout out to Paramount. Paramount at Comic-Con. So what they did was fans could imagine themselves kind of in their own fictitious plot of land on the Paramount Mountain. What show do you like? What kind of environment do you like? And what they walked away with was a physical deed to the Paramount Mountain. The team told me there was like a line out the door at the activation. Super popular. Again, it's not content pushed at the consumer. It's fandom becoming part of that story and part of a brand they love. They become the protagonist of that story. Okay, energy check. Everyone good? With me? Okay. Woo! Okay, good. We have 2 more examples of unlimited possibilities in right now. Okay, first thing we talked about, growth at scale. Second one, we talked about personalization with fandom driving the narrative. That only works if this opportunity is realized. AI needs to live in the workflow. If it's sitting outside of where you do your real work, that's friction for each of us. So adoption happens when we bring the AI practically to you. It must happen in your creative workflow. That belief really shaped why we work so hard to kind of seamlessly incorporate the AI where you live every day. And we heard you when you said, bring the models into Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, After Effects, Frame. And since 2025, we've welcomed over 30 of the world's top models as our partners. Everyone from Runway, of course, Luma, Topaz, Google, Kling, and others. Huge shout out to Runway for choosing us as their early access model partner. It's really a privilege to build with them. And I know we're cooking up some stuff with Anastasis, so stay tuned. You stay in the workflow, you generate the idea, you battle test it, you have the precision of creative control, and then you move into production without breaking stride. That's what we really all want. Okay, fourth and final unlimited possibility that's real right now. I think I heard in the Q&A with Phil, world building. This is really where we're moving. We're moving from individual assets to building entirely consistent, IP-protected creative worlds. So whether you're in media and entertainment, or you're in gaming, or retail, or software, your customers don't experience your brand one asset at a time. They experience it as a world, or we want them to experience it as a cohesive world. And right now, most brands are thinking single asset, single format, single channel. And they should be thinking in a connected universe. So off-the-shelf models, wonderfully, genuinely powerful. We work with the best of them, like I said. But when you're using a shared non-custom model, those things produce normative average outputs. And you're never going to build an iconic brand on normative shared output. What you really need is a creative world, recognizably, defensibly yours, connected assets, deep brand intelligence, and an AI that understands that universe specifically. So generic AI gets you to great, custom AI gets you to iconic. This is why we launched Firefly Foundry last year. You used to have to trade off differentiation and scale. Now, with deep creative tuning, that changes the entire equation. Your brand world, in this case, we took an open source project from Blender, and we trained it, cut it up, trained it for, a couple weeks. You have everything from image, video, audio-aware video, 3D, vector, all hyper-localized in that brand's universe. We also are able to do culturally aware models. And we're not just talking about written or spoken translation. Anybody can kind of do that these days. We're talking about cultural fluency. Two simple examples here, Japanese school backpacks, two-handed business exchange. They're small details, and they should be invisible when they're right, but they're pretty jarring culturally when we get them wrong. This is what it means to build content for the world, not just translate content for the world. Okay, I am a bit of a self-confessed nerd. I couldn't resist showing you two research sneaks from our research team, part of where we're headed with Foundry. Text to 3D, describe what you want. A chestnut, Aztec sculpture, what comes back? A full 3D model from that prompt alone. And again, with the zoom-ins, you can see the detail. If you work in 3D, you know how hard this is. And again, it's about shrinking the time to imagine, from imagination to what you can see and work with. Second one, for all the vector artists out there, we call this project Turntable. This is where you give it one really important sketch, and it becomes a 3D turntable that represents your vision. So if you design the front, we'll take care of the other 359-degree angles for you. So now it's not replacing the artist, it's really giving you time back to keep working on your ideas. Okay, let's bring this home. You guys have been really an awesome audience here. We've started with one profound idea. Human creativity, no longer constrained by time. 4 places that became real, and it's real right now. We've talked about growth. The bottleneck was not the idea, it was always that friction, right, in doing scale. Second, personalization. The customer is the protagonist of the brand, not someone we market to. The third is workflow, because if AI is outside of our workflows, we are not really changing anything on Monday morning. And the last thing, so exciting, world building. When we have IP-protected universes that understand our taxonomy of our brand or our franchise, we can scale our vision. Every watershed moment rewards the ones who move with intention. And you are here, this room is packed, you're curious, so these are the leaders. I think I'm looking at the leaders who are really going to shape this next era. Here's what that means in practice. Idea to final product shrinks by 10x. Not 10%, 10x. And that is a creative win that is not an efficiency play. Because ideas that were never greenlit, there was a gatekeeper, there was a budget constraint, there was a timeline constraint, those barriers fall away and something really extraordinary happens. The sketches that never left our sketchbook come to life. The films that never got funded finally can get made. And the campaigns that were too ambitious because of the timeline, we can ship them now. That is the power of human creativity. And that's where I started. Humanity, creativity to the power of AI brings us to unlimited possibilities. And I think our lives will be much richer for every single one. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.